Well, let's
Just
see.
trying to figure out
Hello.
how I mute. Oh,
Tell you what, let's put you on hold and, okay, wait a minute. All right. Hey guys, sorry. For some reason, my intro music did not play. So let's just fix that right now. As soon as I find it. Wow, there's all kinds of glitches on here. Heck. All right, here we go. Welcome to Monkey Wench Wednesday. Here's the intro. Well, maybe not. I have to. Doggone it. Okay, that's the reason why. All right. Hey, Tammy. Hey, appreciate it. Yeah, last night, if anyone missed it, I was one of the hosts. I was invited to be just temporary, fill in for, who was it, Chad Blackie. Blackie wasn't feeling well, and so Jerry asked me if I would fill in last night on Old Line Cryptids, and so I did, and happily so. I enjoy being with those guys and the guest, Cindy Goodbreak, wonderful lady, fascinating, great adventures. A lot of what she experienced. I've experienced also, although she was all the way up in Idaho. And hey, Sandra, yeah, I know. Yeah, it was a great show last night. And if you missed it, look up Old Line Cryptids and subscribe to their channel. Great group of guys. And well, okay, Tammy. All right, be safe. Okay, so right now we are let's see. Yeah, tonight we have JP, and we'll bring him in just a little bit. But right now, let's go over announcements. There are some little meetings and festivals coming up. And again, I'm horrible. What I should do, and I keep saying it every single show. Hey, Todd, good to see you. Yeah, every single show I say the same thing. I really need to write these down, and I don't. And I try to go by memory, and it's just total fail. So let's see. On Saturday, January 31st in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania, at the Riders Restaurant, there will be a memorial dinner for Fred Saluga. He was a... Hi, Robin. Yeah, there's a memorial dinner for Fred Saluga at 3 p.m., and that's at Riders, RYDERS Restaurant in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania. If you didn't know Fred Saluga, he was a character, first and foremost, a totally just an all-around cryptozoologist, ufologist. He was with MUFON for years. He was Pennsylvania state director, co-state director, as well as West Virginia state director for MUFON. And so there'll be a memorial dinner for him. on January 31st. That'll, the Bigfoot Project will be hosting that along with Agents of the Unexplained. There is, let me see. I know that there's other things going on. And doggone it, like I said, I do it every single time. I keep saying I gotta write all these down and I don't. Okay. What else is going on? 1 minute, please. Now, as you see, we have JP. JP is with, I think you are the director of Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot, or founder.
I'm one of 3 founders of Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot, a federally incorporated not-for-profit company in Canada.
Very cool. Now, when did you begin SOB?
Wow, a long time ago. I think 2018-ish is when we incorporated, and our trade name SOB and our logo, we're all trademarked here in Canada. And also even copyrighted the phrase Bigfoot, they're closer than you think.
Oh, really? Did you?
I was taking a play off of one of our bank's commercials. Scotiabank, you're richer than you think. No.
No, not really. That's funny. Now, I met you in 2018.
That's right.
And I know I got such a kick out of the name, and I think you did it intentionally.
Well, I don't seek, there's no money in this.
No.
At least I'm not intending to monetize this, and I don't really want the notoriety, but I figured, given that many people in this pursuit failed kindergarten, that if I did achieve any notoriety because of what our field research brought to light, then SOB would be the least they would call me. So I had to dance around the wordings to fit SOB, if you will, and actually in our trade name and trademark applications to the Government of Canada, I did in fact put that down as one of the reasons why we're SOB. They accepted it.
All right. Obviously, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. And so were you researching before that, before you formed it?
Yeah, I had met the 2 other founders through Ontario Wilderness Field Research, which was an outfit, or is an outfit, headed up by Peter Smith here in Ontario. He's based in North Bay, Ontario. Mm-hmm. But it seemed rather lackadaisical and not structured, if you will, for such a large outfit in terms of his website membership, if you will. And I was a bureaucrat, and I thought, well, for sure I could do a better job. And well, I did, but I don't have his numbers. And in the beginning stages of SOB, we'd be running around to various conservation areas and green belts, and the fingers that link green belts here. And, and it's true in, many of the cities that I've traveled in the United States, looking for signs, and, obviously finding a lot of suggestive stick signs and purpose-built shelters, and, which is all well and fine and good. But, in terms of field research, the gold, if you will, is to have access to private property where there is, probable and ongoing Bigfoot activity. And I've been very fortunate. The first property, oddly enough, that I gained access to was down in Pennsylvania, and since then I've been provided access to 3 other properties here in Ontario, and I have gear on 2 of them, and I have gear on the one property in Pennsylvania.
All right. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Now,
so I don't go into green belts too much anymore, because a lean-to, a TP, an asterisk, an arch, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yep.
I'm getting that at the 3 properties here in Canada, and from time to time at the property down in Pennsylvania.
Now, the other properties that you have in Canada, are they as active, or how active are they?
I would say the property in the Peterborough area is 5 times as active as the property in Pennsylvania.
Outstanding.
Having slogged their 100 acres, and it's Canada, so you might get shot at, but very few Canadians have guns, and even less after the current moves by my government. I've done some minor trespasses, and then based upon the history of the properties shared with me by the homeowners, it seems highly probable, based on the different size of tracts at that property, that there's a family of 4 living almost year round on an adjacent property.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, what kind of activity are they getting?
Sightings, not so much vocalizations, although there's seems to be in that August, September for the last 3 years, almost like birthing screams, and then territorial challenges. Right, like these. 2 of the 3 properties are, right into the edge of the forever forest, and this other property is not that far away from the edge of the forever forest. There's about, I would say, 300 yards of open ground from that property to the forever forest just north of them. So that's nothing for anybody to cross at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a pursuit. It's a hobby, right? Health, family first, and I'm not gonna tank my marriage of 25 years like some people have done in this frickin' field, chasing something.
I know you can empty your bank account real easy doing this.
Well, I did cash in some dog crypto to fund my latest cryptid adventure for 2026. To basically, I've got all the components for what I describe as an evidence collection station, and a camera recording 24/7 to be stationed anywhere between a third to half a mile away from this purpose-built evidence collection station.
Oh, okay. Now, what all is in this evidence collection station?
Well, let's see.
If you can say.
A big pole. There's going to be 2 to 3.
Ooh. We're lagging. The video's lagging a
Here we
little
are.
bit.
Just as I send internet to you on my phone. Sorry for the lag. So yeah, basically we're looking at 10 to 10-foot pole set into the ground 2 feet, a purpose-built box with a lid on it, the box being perforated with spring hinges, and stiff bristle brushes on the underside of the lid. I want tension on the lid for when the animal goes in and extracts the jar of whatever, sorry Mary, food bait that I decide to experiment with. Leaning towards pig because there actually seems to be a correlation with these property owners and pigs and Bigfoot activity. But more on that later. So it's basically a suspended container. Within the container is the bait. Both the lid of the container and the container itself will have GPS trackers or Bluetooth trackers that work on both, I guess, the Google phones as well as on iPhones. And surrounding the post is 2 to 3 yards of sand, to a depth of 2 inches or so, going out 10, 12 feet from the center of the pole. The jar itself, the bait jar, is sitting on a trigger similar to the switch on the older refrigerators or your car door that turns on a dome light. And it's my understanding that there'll be no electricity until that jar is removed, and then suddenly the circuit is completed. And so I'll figure out the distances, but I've got right now a 42,000 lumen floodlight, similar to what people on 4x4s have as their cross light bar.
Yeah.
So it pulls it up, and the lights are going on, and a third to half a mile away is, a Canon HF G70 video camera recording 24/7 and 1080, and we'll go for there. I'm doing my best to figure out what the distances are for the lamp to illuminate the area, as well as what are the distances I can have the camera with the 3.5 power telephoto lens. I don't want to do optical zoom because it's my understanding of how optical zoom works. You're basically polluting the data.
Okay.
Right. So I just want the standard focal length through an optic, right? That gives me the increased range. And then whatever is recorded then can be manipulated without having to have dealt with pixels that were already extrapolations from an original pixel. That's my understanding what optical zoom does for us. Okay. So, fair enough. Perhaps there's people in the conversation that, have explored photography and the modern stuff. That's the plan. In the particular location at the Peterborough property where I'm going to place this, it's a narrow. It's going to have to step out 10 to 15 feet from its concealment. And so the pathway, and the animal has been seen in that opening in the hedge. Okay. So what I do have is, I'll just call it a blood mat for want of a different description. So essentially, if you're ever at a university or close to an art school, it's, those large portfolio bags. So weather resistant portfolio bag. And so I've got one that's roughly, call it 3 by almost 4 feet, right? And I've got foam, I've got hypodermic, 1/2-inch hypodermic needle. So the total height of on the hypodermic needle is 1 inch, but it's half inch of needle that protrudes, right?
Okay.
And here, give me 1 sec.
All right.
Happily, most things are in range. I'll prick myself, but I know what type of blood type I have and where I've been. But so I don't know. Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
so that's 1 inch in length, and the needle portion is half an inch.
Yeah.
And then on the inside of it, if I can get the right angle, is I'm going to stuff cotton balls into that, so that when something steps on it, and a hypodermic needle is designed to draw fluid or to provide fluid
Right.
into a body, then that cotton swab will absorb whatever that moisture is.
Okay. Rather than running out.
Right.
Okay. Very smart.
And I'm looking to place however many it'll take. Like, buying these things is cheap, like 100 for $15, right? So it's the other components that are more expensive, like the plastic mat, the foam, not the bag so much, right? The ABS plastic sheets to give rigidity to hold this in place. So, like, I don't want a situation where, the animal's stepping on it and it just bends over.
Yeah.
So I want it to maintain its perpendicularity to the ground, right? So I'll be using the camera and filming myself as I fiddle around with the construction of this blood mat. But I got the idea from that one episode with the late Dr. Meldrum when they were up at Snowgrove Lake in Ontario.
Yeah.
And so you're familiar. And so the animal apparently stepped on a bare board. Well, I'm not interested in screwing this thing up. It was already pissed off the last time I actually moved the location of the cameras, and the son of the property owner actually had to go out with the 4570 and, with the flashlight and say F off.
Yeah.
And it got the message. He didn't crank around at it. But that's the same guy a number of years ago that would chase after it in his birthday suit because it was pissing him off, waking him up.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's.
And then he saw the animal, and
you really don't want to piss it off for the property owner.
well, that's his son. But then the son saw the animal, and that was the last time he decided to play tag with it at 2 a.m. So that's the thinking there, is to construct this thing in such a fashion that whatever samples are taken from it aren't contaminated. So it needs to have some water resistancy, but it's not going to be waterproof. And it needs to be in an area where, because it's private property, the humans know not to step. Yeah. And I'm going to be sarcastic just in case the big hairy scary guy's got a sense of humor, although 25% of human beings don't. Is I'm going to have a sign, and it's just in the advance on the on the hedge side of it, it's going to say no free lunch. That's my plan.
Okay. You got to cover yourself.
Oh no! We're less litigious in Canada than you Yankees are.
Yeah, I know. All you guys do is apologize to each other.
Yeah, well, I think they failed to include the word "sorry" into the national anthem. So it's something to do. It's like I said, I cashed out some crypto to fund this latest venture for the cryptid, and
now this box, nothing like a bear or raccoon can't get in there.
Well, there's always the risk of the bear, but the bears up until 10 years ago that used to den on either side of that property, like on the north side, denned on the property. They don't do that since the animal showed up. So what bears I do capture on my gear, and what the property owners report seeing are transitory.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always that risk, but that's what the bed of sand is for. That's what the camera's at. Like, I'm not putting food on, a couple of $1,000s worth of camera gear.
Yep.
That the components, if you will, of the evidence collection station itself are, inexpensive.
Right.
Right.
Now, Pyromedic, he comments, only thing is there's no vacuum to those tiny needles. So unless you somehow get a tiny artery just right, no blood will go down the needle. But I think even if you don't get any blood, because I can imagine their feet are probably very heavily calloused, you'll get DNA at the very least.
Yeah, and I'm not going to waste my money for unknown primate. Yeah, I already know that. I don't need to part with money to some lab to tell me what I already know that you don't know.
Yeah, unknown primate, that's for sure.
If they're so forthcoming. But no, I take your point. Like, I've looked at the gauge of this thing. Like, I don't want to wound the animal. Like, this animal relies upon it being on its feet, right? Full stop, for its survival, right? So I'm looking for a sample, and perhaps there, as he's suggesting, that you need some form of suction, and I don't know enough one way or the other. And if that proves to be the case, because I'll trial it with some, slabs of meat here, right? Because what I want to do is make sure that the needles don't move when something's stepping upon it. And, at the same time, I don't want the full ½ inch going into anything. Right. But I appreciate that, this animal is going to have well-developed calluses on the bottom of their feet.
Oh, yeah.
But, there's probably the two soft spots in along the where their arch breaks.
Yeah.
Because, the arch on the human foot is not as calloused.
Yeah. And then between the toes.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, it's an experiment.
Yeah.
Right. If I see that the damn thing stepped on it and I'm getting nothing, then, as the gentleman suggested, then I'll look to find some physical means to create suction for all of those hypodermic needles. Right. I don't know.
God bless you.
It's something to do, and it's, it's a few bucks. I'm not gonna, electricity and field research is really the great bane of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But the cost of solar, the cost of the smaller lithium batteries have really come down, and lithium batteries have the advantage of you can drain them to zero, whereas if you're using a lead acid battery, well, you're really breaking the thing, and it weighs 5 times as much too. Not in this case, like everything is vehicle accessible, where I intend to place the evidence collection station.
Yeah. Now, Pyromedic also comments, Area X, that's in Oklahoma. They used large screws in a tube with apples as bait. The thing that got the apple didn't like that very well and trashed everything around.
I figure if it removes the jar and the light comes on, I'm going to have the jar around some thicker foam, so that if it's startled when the light comes on, he doesn't drop the jar and close the trigger and the light goes off. Right. So yeah, there's always that risk that any animal, the subject of the pursuit and known animals, bear particularly, will trash the gear.
Yeah. Melvin says, if nothing else, you're trying.
Well, my wife says that too, but yeah, I take your meaning.
Yeah. And you do, and you got to think out of the box, like Patty says, gotta think out of the box. And you try different things, and it sounds like, at least I'm not familiar, I can't remember anyone else using anything like that, but I'm not privy to every single group and what they're doing.
No, well, and nor am I. I know the ongoing feeding situation, bait station up in North Bay uses peanut butter to some success.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, my problem is with the jar itself. Something else getting a hold of the jar, and like a deer will get their nose stuck in the jar and they'll suffocate. Or even a raccoon, they'll stick their head in there and get stuck.
Yeah, and well, in this case, in terms of the jar, the lid of the jar will be perforated to increase, its, spread of its smell, if you will, whatever the bait is, as well as perhaps the upper portion of the jar itself. But the jar itself is going to have to be twisted off. Right. And the reason, and the jar is sitting within another container. Right. So, and the lid is under tension to, encourage this stiff bristle brush that'll run the width of the lid on the inside, the dimension, to drag any hair from a hand going in. Yeah. Right. I did contemplate wrapping tinfoil around the post and then running, basically electrical fence wire around it, just to, electrify the post. Right. That prevents the smaller animals like raccoons, and there's a few squirrels on the property, from getting access to what they're smelling.
Yeah, true.
Right. But it wouldn't prevent a determined bear.
Yeah. I know that they make little barrier things for feeders, deer feeders, the ones that farmers set out in the field and they spray corn. They're basically a tripod.
Oh, they're not baiting deer. I understand that they're baiting squirrels, and they will shoot any deer on sight that are eating the squirrel's food. That's my understanding.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, it's illegal to bait deer.
Although in Oklahoma, apparently it doesn't matter. They can bait the deer.
Perfect.
But they do make a barrier that you can connect to the legs of the deer feeder, and it keeps the raccoons from climbing up the legs, and
okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's raccoons. Well, there are raccoons and fishers on this particular property.
Yeah.
The numbers of them are not like it is here where I'm in Toronto, especially on garbage day, right? So
yeah.
but Yeah, in terms of the substance within the jar to bring the animal in close, I might try, because I have access to one of my hunting buddies in the area, that's a former butcher that sold his shop, so obviously knows the new owners, and pick up pig scrap that way,
Oh, okay.
right, as opposed to a can of Spam. Right.
Yeah, that's
Apples are very common on that property and the surrounding
Yeah.
properties, just simply because, like Pennsylvania and Western New York, it's been settled for hundreds of years. So there's no shortage of wild apple trees.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Your paramedic says, I was going to try a giant glass pickle jar, but decided I didn't want to attract anything after one whistled at me.
Fair enough. Yeah, and in this particular situation, they did raise pigs, and the animal is feasting on that quite well. And once a year, they empty out their freezer, and they're dumping half a garbage bag of frozen meat scraps, and it all disappears real quick, like within 2 hours, and no sign of like birds or other predators like the coyotes and wolves that traipse through that property. Being what took it. But they definitely know not a lot of vegetables are preferred, even by the local wildlife.
Now, okay. Sherry says JP needs to check out areas around Algonquin Park.
Well, these areas are south of that forever forest, if you will, and Algonquin Park. I don't know. I'm definitely long in the tooth now, and I don't feel like canoeing for a couple of days to get into places now that you actually aren't even allowed to stop at for reasons sus. Right. But this is just it. Like when David and Kevin and I first got into this, we were traipsing all over Hell's Half Acre, right? You don't find anything if you're just walking a trail. You got to get off trail. I don't know how many fawns I stumbled across because Mom had laid them up there doing whatever she was doing, right? I wasn't screwing with the fawns, but you don't really get to find the interesting stuff unless you step off trail. Right. And so when you do have the privilege of accessing someone's property that presents to you sufficient evidence of presence, and you're invited to come back, well, that's gold. Like it took 2 years to traipse every square inch of that damn property, including a couple of islands in the middle of the swamp. So happily this year was a particularly very, very dry year, so I got to see the handlebars of the 2 skidoos that they'd lost over the last 30 years that went through the ice, right? So
Sherry says Barry's
Bay and Round Lake.
Round Lake. Yep.
Oddly enough, another friend of mine, he moved north of the city out towards Midland, and he's and you should be a skeptic unless you've had the experience, and it's that's all bullshit and blah blah blah, and that's interesting. A year ago, just to the east of you in Victoria Harbor, somebody reported to us. And then him and his wife, they bought a property up there, and he goes, yeah, one of the neighbors was saying they saw something funny around Victoria Harbor a couple of weeks ago. You know, so I'm now invited to walk his property.
All right.
You know, well, a good friend of mine. So yeah, I'll go do that. It's a wood lot, surrounded by other wood lots. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know, it's something to do. A reason to go see your friend, right?
Oh,
'Cause,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Looks like Dave Wargo is in here and Logan from Bigfoot live stream.
right.
And Todd's in here also. He was saying hi earlier.
I guess I should open up that comment tab. This is the second time I've ever done a podcast. So the first time was with you. The second
Yes.
time was with you.
Yep. Yeah. Robin, I think she's only commenting on text.
Right.
But
Yeah. So, you know, I'm looking forward to assembling this thing, figuring out the limitations of it all. Is that one gentleman suggested with the hypodermic needles that they require suction.
yeah.
We'll go from there. I remember, and I'm plagued with some timers now, but yeah, I remember Les Stroud had some little, snuff tin and some tack type things sticking through the top of it. It was like a metal container and into, some cotton batting, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So if the hypodermic needle doesn't work that way, maybe I just need to go for a thicker gauge tube.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't want to hurt the damn animal. I'm the Red Cross. I just want a drop of your blood.
Yeah, get a little bit of DNA, and you just always be aware of. You don't want to hurt it primarily for hurting the Bigfoot, but also you don't want to piss it off on someone else's property.
It's gonna have to sit down and talk with me about politics and religion, then it can be pissed off. I get it. Like it's like the property in Pennsylvania. No one that I'm aware of has done anything to cause harm to it or to threaten it. I do know that at least one of the animals there has been startled a few times by human beings and had an interesting response. And I do know last time earlier this fall when I changed the location of cameras for the first time after 3 years, so I had a set of cameras on one side of this cabin for 3 years, and then I moved it, and that animal was extremely aggressive that night.
Oh, what happened?
Coming in and loud bangs on the house and not shy about being seen.
Yeah.
At 2 a.m.
Oh boy. Yep.
So that's when the property owner's son went out with how you would hold a flashlight if you're holding a rifle, and had the 45 chambered and leveled at the animal that was at the edge of the swamp and said, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
And it did.
That's
but
good. They
no shots were fired, but the point was across. And I think a lot of the interaction and call it trespass of each biped spaces is that they are doing selective lumber harvesting on their property, as well as they're now opening up more trails into the back end of their property.
Mm-hmm.
So something reached into the porch and stole an axe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's a long reach.
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. Now, how
So
tall did they say that one was?
this is at the 9-foot height.
9 foot? Okay.
Yeah. The tallest reported is a little over 10 feet.
Okay. Yeah. Mark up in Alaska, he says average ones that are seen here are around 12 foot tall.
Yeah. And that's in line with the animal I had seen when I was 9 years old in North Vancouver Island, height-wise. Yeah.
Yep. Whew. Melvin asked, does your local government require permits?
Permits for what? The supernatural? No, I've got a small game license. It's about the only way I'm able to, go armed into the bush here, and on private property. There's not a lot of COs, if you will. I did register for a trapping course because we got the trapping course,
Oh.
and I got some property owners to say, yeah, I can have a trap line there. Then I can be a genuine North American and run around with a pistol on my hip. But I need to be a trapper.
All right. Aha. That's the
But
trick.
I just might do that. Well, I do that just out of sheer interest. Who's to, you might learn something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Mark says he's on Prince of Wales Island.
Okay.
And Logan from Bigfoot Livestream, if you had unlimited resources, what would you do first on your list here in your research?
Unlimited resources. Oh man. Too much money is too much problems. Actually, what I'm trying to do in 2026, I would do without evidence collection stations, less the attractant. And what it would be cameras at a distance. I think David Wargo's right. Like, I don't know what it is they tag on, especially freaking trail cameras, right? But they're tagging on something, right?
Yeah.
It's not the wind, it's not the smell of the plastic, because then you'd get half the images, right? So I don't know. So then it comes down to, at what range do they detect the something?
Okay.
Right. And so
Yeah, fair enough.
The details of the evidence collection station, the brass plates and the top and the bottom of the lid, the trackers into the lid of the bait jar and the jar itself to go find that, the bristle brush to collect hair. I thought of all the different adhesives and things like that. I was like, and Velcro seems to be, people swear up and down about that, but a stiff hair bristle brush that pulls out dead hair on more reliably, I found testing with Velcro and crap like that on my own fine hair. So yeah, I'm going with the bristle brush. I'm going with the field of sand, right, to catch tracks. We'll see to what success, if anything, the blood mat is. But yeah, no, it's to have the cameras at a standoff distance.
Okay. Right.
Because, I've tried, well, the best image we ever got with SOB was up in Halton Hills, and it's, a suggestive hand, and that camera was buried in a stump, right? I've gotten blob squatches a number of times with the gear, both at Peterborough and at Pennsylvania, but it's nothing to write home about.
Right.
Right.
And that's all it is, blob squatch.
Right. Like, the last one good image that was suggestive of shape, pixelated right off the bat, because whatever it was at the very edge of the IR illumination of the camera.
Okay.
Right. But there didn't have, it seemed the right size and shape of something deliberately moving low, but then they have barren
Yes.
that property, but
Yes.
there was no clean suggestion of ear on that. Well, like I said, it just pixeled out immediately,
Right.
but it seemed a more conical head,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So it is what it is. And then Logan and his team, they've been kind enough and good enough to share with me some of the evidence they've collected, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's something large, but it's not stepping in and going, "Hey, look at me," right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, to answer Logan's question, yeah, quality recording equipment set at a distance, covering an area known, and if it's about the unlimited resources, then well, the cameras are set back a third to a half a mile away. The area that it's taping, recording, I would install IR lamps. It doesn't matter if they see the IR lamps; they don't seem to worry about that. They trip off motion detectors all the time,
Yeah.
right? But there's something about a camera and a motion detector, right?
Yes.
So I would illuminate the area, like in this Peterborough property. I know exactly which area I would illuminate, because I think the two kids are the ones that making all the damn stick signs that go in, rip it down. I'm talking about urinate on it, especially if it's blocking a road.
Mm-hmm.
And a day later, it's back. Right? And other times it's not a day later, right? So that's exactly what I would do. Right? Because the up close and personal doesn't seem to work. And in
No.
the case of the PA property, I've been there, 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Beginning,
And,
like myself.
and I've tried different ways of positioning the cameras, get them a high up. I bought a collapsible extension ladder and get the damn camera up 15 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That actually's been the most successful, right? Or down super low,
Yeah.
into a stump, something that whatever it is they detect, they can't see it. And in terms of my last camera placements out at the Peterborough property, the terrain, because you can't control for the ground in and around what you suspect is their pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And I did 20 years in the Army, so I know how to hide shit. And I buried two cameras that were covering one another very, very well. And I haven't been out there since October when I put them out there. And
yeah, Logan
I'm
has
curious to see what the first images are that are not me, right? Because it might have known that it tripped, but
Mm-hmm.
The property owner has gone out there. The cameras are still there. It didn't get ripped off the tree because it was super pissed off. But I screw them into the tree. I don't just use a strap.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Do you see Logan's comment there or question?
What if we move the equipment across the road into the... If you had access to that, absolutely, yes. And as it is, we're catching enough vehicle traffic, and I stopped doing audio some time ago.
Yeah.
But the road noise will be more pronounced. Yeah, if you could get access, and with regards to the deployment of the gear, they kind of look like Boba Fett from Star Wars, the domes you got all over your gear, right? But that said, trying to hide the cameras or get the cameras out of their line of sight when they're close, mixed results, right? But yeah, no, if you could position the gear at a greater distance, like I think one of the issues right now between the two groups at the Pennsylvania property is we're covering the as best we can the perimeter of the house, and perhaps what we should be doing is covering the approaches to the house at a greater distance, like because I'm aware of my IR flashes, more if right now everything's set on motion detection, which isn't really the way to go. Time lapse is the way to go when it comes to trail cameras. My IR flash, when it goes off, will interfere with their recording. So with the exception of the last one, and I think that is my camera in answer to the question, Logan. I try to have my IR flashes, that the detection pointed away from the house.
Yeah, Logan, on the pure analog cameras. Now, if you recall the famous Patterson-Gimlin film and what type of camera that they had for capture, I mean, really, so far it's the best video. And we have all this modern equipment now that's not really catching them for whatever reasons, because the IR or EMF or whatever possible sound that it's putting out that they can hear, who knows? But
and that's what I like about the camera at a standoff distance, and it's recording 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. There's no startup clicks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In this particular thing, it's a white light triggered 42,000 lumen, light bar, right? That's going to go on as soon as the animal pulls, lifts the jar off the trigger. Right. My understanding of electricity, and I'm no electrician, although I did suspicious things when I was a younger man and desperate for money involving electricity and farming, is I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't know. It's my understanding that there's no electrification of the wire leading to the trigger and then off to the timer itself connected to the battery until such time that circuit is closed. So it should be a dead wire if they're tagging on electricity, and there's no battery, so there's should be no electromagnetic field,
right?
That a battery exhibits, right?
Right.
So these are my, these are just thoughts, and none of us in this field are going to know until someone does.
Yeah.
Right. If it doesn't work, that's good information to have too. Like that blood mat that, I described earlier. If it doesn't work, that's good to know. Why didn't it work? Right.
Yeah. It's trial and error, no matter what. This first attempt may not be successful, but you'll see where the failures are and where the weaknesses are, and then correct those and keep moving on until you have success. Possibly.
Well, and when it comes to the old technology, so something like the Super 8 film, or whatever the film size was that Roger was using, fine, it makes a lot of noise, but you can sound dampen and stuff like that, but it's still, who's going to be there every half hour to change out the roll, right? Like, what size of battery bank are you going to have, right?
Yeah.
But I have been looking, and I'm not made of money, and my crypto holdings aren't that large for me to divest them for more cryptid stuff. But is the old style cameras on a tripwire, black and white or color, 35 millimeter, something breaks the wire, there it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, like at the Peterborough property, like I put, I don't know, 6-8 bags of play sand down in this low depression where 5 game trails converged in the hardwoods. And it took 3 years for the damn animal to step into it. And then when the owner found, and casted it, it's a nice cast. It's not, you know, it's not like a cast in nice, clean, fine mud or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly that bastard animal used birch bark branches further into the woods and a big axe.
Ah, okay.
So, you know, I took my pictures of that with the property owner and knocked it down and peed on it.
And then what happened?
No more axes, but then no more footprints.
Now, I'm surprised that it didn't do anything in retribution to you peeing on it.
Its retribution is it moves logs onto the roadway that runs through the hardwood.
Okay.
And the property owner makes a big stink about it, and then that behavior stops, and then, you know, I or the property owner do something that pisses it off, so it knows that putting logs on the road pisses, you know, the property owner off. So, you know, here comes the logs. You know, happily, they're of a size you don't need a freaking winch to clear the road, but you know, it is Ontario. It's not like we have too many monster trees left, similar to Pennsylvania, right?
Oh my, that's funny. It's a constant game with them, I think, out of boredom.
Well, I think the ongoing interaction it is the game, right? Like, you know, if the knocks at the Pennsylvania property, I'm not going to go out and play tag. Like, you know, those animals see us at midnight as well as I do at noon. Like, I'm already at a disadvantage, right? And, like, you know, a further disadvantage because I'm Canadian, so I'm running around in the bush unarmed. Really? You know, my hiking pole. You know.
Yes, talk harshly at it.
But mammals sense intention.
Yes.
Your dog reads you.
Yeah.
Right. These animals have studied us and like a child know us better than perhaps we know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're not exactly a peaceful species towards ourselves. And they've seen that. But at the same time, I don't really, you know, I wear orange a lot of the times when I go into the bush, and more so after reading the cursed David Paulides 411 books. I was like, holy shit, I've spent more time sometimes looking behind me than where I want to go, right? But yeah, it's I'm just not gonna go play tag with it. It's they're a much better equipped animal for this ground than I am personally, and most Homo sapiens are. But
Yeah.
I don't worry about being abducted per se, because they also know that when someone goes missing, suddenly there's a whole bunch of more clothed apes running around their bush, and if they're resident, as I suspect they are in the neighboring property in Peterborough, they're not going to queer that. They've got a good deal going. Like, you know, lots of activity, lots of varied wildlife, right? And they're not, as a crow flies, they're not that far away from the forever forest either.
Okay.
Right? You know, you don't have to go that many kilometers north of that property to run into moose.
Now, you mentioned wolves. Do wolves come down on that property also?
Yeah, they traverse. I had one of my sights during the hunting season. I was like,
Oh.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not going to pop it. You know, coyotes I'll pop, but I won't pop a wolf.
Now you have open season on coyotes there also?
Well, you need a tag, but.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, but if you're the property owner and I'm not, then you can whack all the coyotes you want.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, it's open
What's
season.
interesting is that property owner spotted a cougar on his property. In Ontario, apparently cougars don't exist in the province of Ontario. And it had a collar on it. So he called M&R and, oh no, we don't have cougars. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be molesting my livestock. The next time I see it, I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
Next day they were there. Radio collar tracker, animal gone.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
Yeah, Todd says, like you say, JP, they are closer to us than we can think.
Yes, that's right. Bigfoot, they're closer than you think.
Okay, let's see. And Mike Nation, he's near Salt Fork, and you've been there.
I even have after the first time I was there, I think it was, one of your expeditions or perhaps somebody associated.
Yes.
I was like, what do you mean you don't have a topographical map? So, my wallet was a little thick one day. And so suddenly I got all the topos for that area. And I got the topos for, the Pennsylvania property. And I got the topos for all the properties I have access here in Canada, right?
Yep.
Because, a 1 to 50, if you can read a map and contour lines, and it'll tell you a lot of potential paths of travel, right?
Oh, they do, definitely.
I know if I had the property owner's permission either side of some crossings that go under our interstate type highways here in Southern Ontario, I would absolutely, cover one end or both with gear at a distance.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems to me bridges over water crossings is an obvious and would be a historic route of an animal coming from the north into Southern Ontario to avail itself of the crops down here and then head north. Although until they did the massive highway construction around Milton, there seemed to be a family of 3 that was resident in the Short Hills Provincial Park in St. Catharines over the course of 3 winters. And then after they started the highway construction on the 401, which did cut off the natural path that they likely were following through along the Niagara Escarpment, there was nothing since in terms of winter habitation.
Yeah, that completely cut them off.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert asked, have you done any research around the Southwest Ontario region of Chatham, Kent, and Essex counties?
A late member of ours, Cameron Clark, who was in the Chatham area, he was the Energizer Bunny, and he was all over some of the smaller green pockets, if you will, in that area. I'm trying to remember the names, but there's some larger swamps, woodlots, conservation areas in that area of Southern Ontario, and Cameron, myself, and other former members, because that's the thing. It's a bit of a sine wave of people's interest.
Yes.
It did did reconnaissance through a lot of those on a map, which looked like a large wood block. But once you get into it, you're realizing that, there's not a lot there, but you do find some of the typical suggestive stick signs in terms of X's and arches. If you ever go on the YouTube channel, there's, and that was filmed in the Short Hills Provincial Park, and all these TPs and lean-tos and stuff like that. And in the beginning, it was, oh wow, but that they're all man-made. There's an outdoor school not that far away, and then when you run across another village and one's got a flat roof, you go, yeah, okay, done. Only human idiots build a structure with a flat roof.
Yeah.
And then in other areas out towards Trenton, by the Bleasdale Rock Conservation Area, there's lots of TPs in and around that area, not that far off the beaten human trail. And there's a lot of call it homeless people or transient people. And yeah, sure, maybe the big hairy scary guy built the first one, but there's enough human contamination in terms of strings tied off and remnants of tarps and things like that. So when it comes to finding TP type structures, lean-to type structures, if it's within a kilometer of a well-traveled human area, I kind of dismiss it, because I've run into in the Dundas Conservation Area, wow, that's a super excellent TP, no real sign of human construction, like no crossbars, nothing suggesting structural engineering outside of leaning crap. And then you find a neighbor, and a guy working in his backyard. Oh yeah, my kid and his boys built that one, and if you go down and around the trail and around a corner, they're building another one, right? So
oh yes.
But then I've been 5 kilometers off roads here in Ontario, and suddenly, holy shit, there is a TP, right? And not made of the floor scraps, but sizable timber, right? So those I attributed more to a higher probability that it was the big hairy scary guy as opposed to some transient human being,
right? Yeah, because of
and then same as arches, right? Like survivalists, if you see an arch and it's buried into the ground, and maybe other forced debris is stuck on the crown of the tree that's been bent over, and it's say 2 to 3 feet at the height of the arch, and the length of the tree that they used gives you a 5.5, 6 foot length, right? Well, that could be somebody, the remnants of their survival shelter, because it's pretty simple. If you don't have string, bend that over and throw a tarp over it.
Yep, there you go.
Right, but then when you see the arches and the same means with which the crown is embedded into the ground or affixed to the ground, and it's like 8 feet tall and 15, 20 feet wide or long, and along the arch, snow load, wind load, ice storms,
right.
You just start looking, well, where did this come from? Same as like a lot of the X's and asterisks that we've found in other researchers throughout North America report finding is okay, well, where did the timber come from? Is it reasonable it fell this way? How is it these trees got pinned, right? Why is this tree still growing? This is clearly dead on top, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the goodness, I was going to ask something and it completely left. Sometimer's disease. Just
Oh, well, yes. I don't think there's a pill for that, but
not yet. Yeah, because I'm reading through the comments and okay. Have you found any upside down trees that were shoved into the ground?
oh, like that one famous photo.
Yeah.
No, I haven't found sizable trees where the root ball is sticking up.
Yeah.
But I have found many trees where the root ball of one tree is stuffed up into the boughs of other trees.
Okay.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
that's not a frequent find, but, when I was more active exploring new areas, that, you'd run across that maybe one every 6 trips, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. Could be from the tree falling and then flipping up. From some other cause. Who knows? But shoved down into the ground, that's different.
Well, and the other thing too is, like, for example, the Peterborough property is, you got the people that are coming up on the weekends. As I was saying, like, the membership over the last 8 years is like a sine wave, right? In terms of the number of people, how long they're actively engaged, that type of thing. So, on a weekend, if all of a sudden you're hearing a whole whack of tree knocks and suspicious calls and stuff like that, you go, yeah, no. But if it's Wednesday night, maybe. Do you know what I mean, right? In a lot of areas, right? And Toronto's, I don't know, Toronto Hamilton area is probably like 6-7 million people. Doesn't take too small of a percentage to have a sizable number of people that would go out, right?
Yeah. Right.
There's, and on a lark, right? There's probably, I don't know, over a dozen people whose names I don't know, and they may or may not know of me, that, are active looking around this area, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've had communication with people that do their own research east of here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more a telephone conversation, share information, and no real interest in meeting or sharing each other's sites, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So it's what it is. Like, when it comes to the privilege of being invited onto somebody's land, you keep those details real close.
Oh, you do. Absolutely. You have to.
Because they have the reputation in the area they live. I just come in, I go out, I live elsewhere, right?
Right. Yeah.
But when it comes to like conservation areas, green belts, that type of thing, yeah, when you're first getting into it, yeah, those are the obvious places to go. There's all types in this field, and you find yourself in relationships with all types of different people. And David, one of the founders, is more, we shouldn't share this and all this other stuff. And I'm going, unless you're drunk and blind, you're looking at a map of Southern Ontario. Of course you're going to Short Hills. Of course you're going to Dundas. Like, how is this? How could this possibly be a secret? Right?
Yeah.
But then how many people, and that's the other thing is there's not a lot of 20-year-olds. They're spending time doing this. It's usually people, maybe if you're lucky, they're in their mid 30s, late 30s, if they get actively involved in this, depending on their constitution, what they have and have not done in their lives at that point. Right. Mobility issues kick in, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't go any further off trail than I can crawl, because, apparently I've got a weak portion in one of my lungs. So, if suddenly it collapses, get yourself to the hospital. Well,
Oh,
so I'm
boy.
not going 10 kilometers off trail. I got to go keep distances in around 1 to 2 right
Yeah.
now when I'm going out by myself, in case I have to frickin' crawl out on one lung.
Yeah, you got to be careful now.
Right. But even when you're 20, that's when you had to be even more careful, because you're just young and really dumb.
That's right, because you're invincible, at that age, 16 to 25, you're invincible.
I don't know if there's a pill for that, but I'd love to start lying to myself that way again. I think it's called a lobotomy or something. Where's my glass rod? I'll do a transorbital lobotomy.
Yeah, Mike Nation says he shares his stuff, and so do I. And it's we don't share exact locations, of course, because well, that's obvious. But your findings and your research and things like that, what you find out, what information you gain, it's if you don't share that, other people, other researchers, they just repeat the same things over and over again as if it's brand new. And
well, for them, honestly, it is. And
for them it is.
And there was a time where it definitely was brand new for me.
Yeah.
Right.
But the problem is, it's been tried, it fails, and let's move on to something else. Let people know what you found out during that research. What were your successes, what were your failures,
right,
and what were your findings.
For example, in terms of a tool or a technique, there was this latex wrap that kind of mimicked the bark of some certain trees that you would wrap your camera around, so it's almost like a wood boil on and as a means to camouflage the camera. Like, at the time, it seemed a little pricey and a little sus, but has anyone deployed that, and have they had success?
Yeah.
Maybe they have. It's you get to live 5 lifetimes at this point if the internet was frozen, just to go consume everything of interest to you, not what is out there, just of interest to you. You spend 5 lifetimes doing that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mike asks, how do I find your channel? Do you have any YouTube channels?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel. It's been a while since we posted new content to it, so that's actually my fault. Because I did. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time filming things, and then the guy that manages the channel's out in way the hell out east in Newfoundland. But it's if you go into YouTube and I think one word or space it out, but Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot, with or without the apostrophe S.
Yeah, I'll try to put it in the description box.
And then our website is www.seekingontario'sbigfoot.com without the apostrophe S.
Okay, Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot. Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to put it in the comments here at least.
Oh, and thank you for that, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you, Mike, for inquiring.
And there's the link for the YouTube channel. there it is. So just click on that, and I'm sure on your YouTube channel you'll have a link to your website also.
I'm pretty sure Mr. Andrak sorted that out, so yes.
Yeah. If not, it's the same thing, just Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot.com.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, like social media is it almost becomes a job in and of itself, right? Like, you know, I'm fortunate that, you know, I've got to call it a trap line of properties that I visit, you know, more or less on a monthly basis, right? And in terms of, you know, the life balance, myself, you know, this is a hobby, it's not a job.
Yeah.
It's sufficient, right? Like the project, you know, for SOB this year is this evidence collection station, and you know, there's no money in here. If you're interested in joining Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot as a Class B member, it's $50 Canadian, right? Like it's not, you know, if I had 2 Class B members, then that's enough AA batteries to service all my gear for a year, right? You know, sure the hell isn't the cost of a tank of gas going to and from any of these places, right?
Yeah. And on your website, in order, you know, as a bonus of becoming a member, you have access to more content from what I remember.
Yeah, there's a members only page, so there's a lot of reports that we've received, and even more reports that other group, Peter Smith, had received, that he asked us to, you know, clean up and, you know, strip it of the telltale information, right? As to, you know, property addresses and crap like that, first and last names and things like that. So, you know, I'd spent a couple of months, and, you know, Kevin spent a couple of months going through all of those reports and sanitizing it to make it neutral, if you will, right? Not to disclose anything. And, you know, those reports are up on the members only page, you know. And like anything else and everything else, if you've spent any appreciable time, I don't anymore, surfing, you know, the offerings of Bigfoot, Sasquatch on YouTube and elsewhere, it's almost like the Missing 411 books. Kind of freaking repetitive, you know. Blinkens goes for a walk. Blinkens can't be found. Searchers go out for, you know, however many days. Suddenly, Blinkens was found in a location searched 5,000 times, right? You know, or, you know, Bloggins was found in the midst of a bunch of reeds and no sign. How did he get there? Well, obviously he fell there, right? But there's no trees to fall there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, after a while, I stopped buying his books because he seemed to, you know, funding his trip to Jamaica or something in January by having the Christmas release of his book, right? So, you know, like I'm being sarcastic here, but yeah, just like, okay, well, you're not offering anything in terms of, after all of this time, all of the correspondence I am sure that you've received from people of varied experiences and in scientific knowledge or professionals as to their hypothesis on some of this stuff. It didn't seem to be shared. That would be interesting. What do other people think? Like, what do people think of just the idea of an evidence collection station where you're trying in one location that's covered by a camera set back at a distance of a third to half a mile without using optical zoom, right? Just using optics, proper glass optics, and you're trying to collect footprints, perhaps blood from footprints, fingerprints, right? Hair samples, right? And maybe I get damn lucky because both the lid and the jar itself have separate trackers. You know, in the case of the Peterborough property, maybe the young one is dumb enough to take it to where they're staying. Hey, Ma, look what I found. you know,
Um, um,
you
the
know,
jar will be all empty because he's cleaned it out.
but it doesn't matter. Like and that would be the other thing too, is there a direction to travel,
Yep.
or if they regularly feed from that site, is there a place where they're having their lunch on a regular
Right.
basis? In which case, then that opens up more possibilities for surveillance or more passive evidence collection, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Travel
bought the thing,
patterns.
like I bought the finger lifting powder and the brush and the tape for, the lids and stuff like that, as well as for, the metal brass plates on either side of the lid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just in case I catch their fingerprints, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, and
You never know.
if
Hey.
the trigger thing works, maybe I get some decent quality video of the animal in action. It's not going to convince John Q. skeptic. It's not what it's intended for. It's more the interest and satisfaction of the property owner there, myself,
Yeah.
the members of SOB, right? It's
Yeah.
not like, rah, I'm going to go and whore myself out for, a couple of $1,000, right? Going, look what I found, and deal with all the, how would you say, the positive joy notoriety in this field can bring. Ergo SOB.
Yes. There you go. And making the rounds of all the conferences and festivals and all the podcasts.
I have enough T-shirts for the rest of my life, so I don't need to attend another conference. Sorry.
Believe me, I know.
And
Oh,
if I ran across an affordable statue of Bigfoot that was correctly proportioned in line with my memory of what I saw when I was a boy, and in line with some of the clearer photo and video film evidence of the animal, yeah, I'd part money with that. But for the other stuff I see out there, it's just like, yeah, I'm a little too old for Halloween.
now, would your wife allow you to put that Bigfoot statue out in your front yard?
Well, I wouldn't have one as large as what Mr. Smith had gifted the property owner out in PA. So no. and outside of a painting behind me that I've had since, I don't know, 40 years or so, I don't have a brag wall. I don't have
No.
no.
Oh
And the
man.
only reason I have that painting is it reminds me of myself and my two sisters when we were little kids, cruising the shore at Nanoose Bay on eastern Vancouver Island, north of Nanaimo when we were kids, right? I mean, we were poor, so what better entertainment than the tide's out, go play in the rock pools,
Hey, yeah.
right? So
I used to play in the
that's what
coal
that
pal.
picture, yeah, that's what that painting reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to play in the coal pal. That was the best fun until Mom saw my clothes all dirty with all the coal dust and grease and everything.
There was a coal slag pile area in the neighborhood that I grew up with in Nanaimo, and so the first day I skipped school was with myself and a friend at the time, Jimmy Carr, and we skipped school on the wrong day because that afternoon that we skipped was apparently movie afternoon in the class.
Oh.
And the teacher was the VP, and that son of a bitch had a phone on his desk. And I guess Jimmy and I were looking a little too hale to not be there because we're sick. But I got to tell you, smashing beer bottles and pop bottles down at the slag dump got boring after about 45 minutes. I was like, okay, what do we do now? We can't go back to school. Can't go home.
Yep. And now what do you do?
Yeah. Arrowhead seems to be a hot spot. The 2 times that we've gone up in the fall to Arrowhead, it's not you're not getting, well, we haven't had the visual, but there's a lot of odd audio that goes on or is captured when the times that we're out there.
Yeah. Do you see Robert's question there? I know he asked about Algonquin, which you've already answered. He also asked about Kawartha Highlands.
Yeah, and the Queen Elizabeth lands. When I wasn't hunting Bigfoot that time, I was out hunting with another friend of mine, and in the QE conservation lands, and there was an interesting trackway in the thick moss on top of this one ridge where we had sat down for lunch, and the distance between one print and it was a series of prints in line with one another. It was probably, recollection, 15 of them before it petered off of the moss and into the rocky brush. That was interesting. In fact, I think it's probably on the members only pages on the SOB site, there was a guy that shared with us footprint and handprint in the snow of some animal that he tracked its tracks of. So there's some decent imagery that he shared with us from the same area that I had saw that anomaly trackway in the moss.
Okay.
Right. And when I was on that hunting trip, I was aware of the big hairy scary guy, but I wasn't actively looking for the big hairy scary guy. But yeah, that trackway struck out to me as odd. But my hunting partner, native guy, he didn't give a shit. So he wasn't curious. He just wanted to eat his lunch.
Did he know about them, or did you ask?
I never asked, but he knew later of my interest, but never shared any stories. But when my last job, I was, I was a federal executive for the First Nations Inuit Health Branch here in Ontario region, and so I didn't go advertising, like passing out my SOB cards at a business meeting or anything like that. But word got out there that I was interested in the pursuit. So from time to time, people would share stories that they experienced either when they were younger or what recently happened in some of these fly-in communities.
Yep. Any dogman encounters?
No.
And do you want to?
I've met a lot of bipedal dogs when I was out on the hunt for a wife, but no. I haven't found any super canine tracks that are beyond the realm of a timber wolf in terms of size. So, and I'm not that familiar with Dogman outside of the stories I've heard. I don't really want to run across one unless I'm well armed. Whereas running across Sasquatch doesn't create the same level of terror or fear for my life.
Okay. Yeah, if you recall, our mutual friend Marie, I think she had at least one dogman encounter there in Ontario. I don't know where, because I don't recall if she had even mentioned where it was.
Well, earlier in her life, she she was employed, I think, under contract by the ministry to go out into the, into the Algonquin area and do bear surveys and things like that.
Yeah.
She was, I'm assuming she's still around, alive, an extremely capable outdoors person, a really good shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. She, amazing woman, absolutely amazing. Boy, do I miss her.
Well, I still have images of her making the wax cast for and casting my daughter's foot at some event. I want to say it was in Cook Forest.
Yeah, it was a Cook. Yeah, Cook Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a great job there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. And how about Wendigo?
Same thing. One's just more violent. It's the thing with the lore and the stories with various native tribes is some of the animals perceived as seeing the animal or experiencing the animal is a bad thing, and others are it's a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And human beings have good days and bad days. There's groups of people that are more violent than others, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is the relationship? Like, it's not like the natives didn't hunt these things and weren't predated on themselves by these things, right? Like a lot of the West Coast native stories are just about that, right? What I find interesting, the abduction stories, of a century and a bit ago, it's the woman that got abducted and the kids are gone, right? Whereas the modern ones, so maybe there's a lot of sick puppies out there, and for sure there are, right? It's men saying that they've been abducted. I don't know. If I got raped by Bigfoot, I'd probably keep my mouth shut and change my name.
You mean you wouldn't go on TV?
No. No. So who's to say, right? Like, I've got a book somewhere here, or maybe it's in the other room, the other library, of, there's 200 different place names of the same animal.
Yes.
Right. And then when you read the aspects of these animals, it runs the gauntlet of the Wendigo to, I don't subscribe to the theory they're your forced friends or anything like that, but more pacific interactions, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. There's place names and street names, road names, that are different, sometimes colloquial names of the Bigfoot, or nicknames like
in British Columbia, Skookum is a common place
Yeah.
name, and Skookum is associated with the animal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Down in Alabama, I was there in October, and there was I passed by a road called No Neck Road, and because that has no neck, so
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. But there's a lot of people, I think, do have a negative experience, and they abandon their properties.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's others that either just didn't even imagine the possibility of, and more commonly, I think, in terms of the psychological effect, is people that were such urgent active disbelievers, like not just principal skepticism, but just dismissive entirely, and then all of a sudden they have their oh shit experience, and they never go back in the woods, and that's a shame too. That's a huge shame.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. People, or else people will hear a story, hear us talking about our experiences, and they say, I'll never go into the woods again after listening to that. And, I try to tell them, how many years have you been hiking or hunting, or walking, exploring through the woods, and nothing happened? And your knowledge of what's out there shouldn't change your love, your joy in enjoying the outdoors. Get out there and enjoy it. Just now you're more aware, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I figure that at some point in time, the government's going to toss the coin and go, okay, let the public know that there's a biped out there that we haven't found a way to tax. So we're going to disclose that animal is out there because it's going to drive everybody to a 15-minute city, and they're not going to want to go into a green space after dark. Like the number of people like at the Dundas Conservation Center, area and the Short Hills Provincial Park, like young girls, the earbuds are, and it's dust time and they're going for a run on, and they're good trails, right? Like you're not going to snap an ankle or anything like that. I'm just like, there's cougar here too, even though the state doesn't admit that they're here. And I've found tracks at Dundas, and that's, Short Hills of big cats, right? I'm just like, oh, I know they wouldn't be doing that. But then in areas of high bear concentration, like Banff and Jasper before it burnt down, so we have our own, nationally, our own version of Gavin Newsom and fires like the Pacific Palisades. So that town's completely trash. But there's big G bear there, and you got people running through the trails, earbuds in. Like, you're not going to outrun the bear, but it'd be nice to know you're about to get eaten.
Yeah. Well,
myself personally, I've not experienced orbs at all. I've heard stories from friends through where I was working with Indian Affairs, of people relaying that they're deep in the woods, and either they were hunting or usually hunting, not hiking, and they were followed by 2 or 3 various size orbs of a range of colors, but usually a blue-green is, from memory, is the common color reported. But I myself personally have not experienced any orbs. I know Mr. Smith here online, if he's still online, he brought me out to his hot spot, and I was like, wait. And it's hit and miss in this. If I had my own property and it was my property, and I knew of an area on my property of regular activity where if you lie low to the ground, and I think they observe us lying down, not standing parallel with a tree, and you can see him, sure as shit, I'll invite somebody like my good friend, Mr. Smith there. And go, oh yeah, just put the binos here. You're going to see the sons of it. And it's the 2 weeks they're off, I don't know, finding a mate. Like it happens, right?
Of course.
It's the akin of your car's acting up. You take it to a mechanic and they can't find shit wrong with it.
That's right. It's running perfect. No problem. It's it's all chance.
Exactly, right? And it's just that. So I'm going to, run with this evidence collection station and the elements of it. And the people in this field that, I know of, I'll share what I'm finding. And, I'm happy to, take their suggestions to improve. Like the gentleman that mentioned that these hypodermic needles that, I bought, they need suction.
Yeah.
I've got some imagination, and I've got books on how things work and stuff like that. But if somebody has an idea of how to create suction non-electrically, so mechanically, by the action of the animal stepping on this particular blood collection mat, I'm all ears. Like, okay, I'll go figure it out, right? Figure out, it's not just the idea, it's the manufacture of it. And then something like this is, it's not going to kill you, but at the same time, it is dangerous. It's going to hurt, right? So what's the safe handling of this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the safe deployment? Like, I wouldn't deploy it on public property.
No.
Right. But
No.
I'm going to deploy it on private property, and the location will be known to, call it the half dozen people that traipse the property. And if it's some trespasser, well, screw them. And if there happens to be some trespasser with very thin moccasins, well, you get what you get. This isn't going to really, I think, penetrate most soles of hiking boots and shoes, right?
Oh my!
And has anybody here or heard of researchers where they've put a camera off half a mile away, observing an area, whether a specific area that's been set up as call it a bait station, for want of another way to describe an evidence collection station, or just a general area that the animal is frequently reported or seen silhouetting themselves. Like, is there anything like that? Like, I saw enough when I did take the time to go and hit YouTube and stuff for the Bigfoot stuff, of people apparently going out there, their $30,000 camera, go back and develop it and magnify it. Oh, that blob squatch, that was definitely, it was looking at me. Right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's still a thing, but it seemed to be a thing a number of years ago, right? So, but I don't know. Is there anybody out there that's aware of a group doing something similar, and what were their results? And I'm almost willing to bet if they're getting ongoing results, it's like everything else in this field, whether it's on public or private land, they're just going to shut up and keep the good things to themselves. And I don't subscribe to the MIB thing, but should I ever bag one, and I'm not going out to bag one, but if I ever did, I'd call it a twofer. I got my cryptid, now I'm going to see if MIB shows up and bag one of those for proof too, right?
That's right.
I've looked at Vietnam foot traps, and other improvised weapon systems, for want of another description, or traps. In fact, I got a few books on things like that here in my my prepper library for if it all goes for crap. Okay, how do I protect my property and it's not stringing bells? But and again, the foot trap, you're digging a hole. I live in a fairly moist environment, right? What's it stepping into? Like, what is it I'm attempting to collect? And I don't want, I don't mind if I cause inconvenience for the animal, but I don't want to cripple the animal. Like, that animal needs to move and to eat, right? And you don't do that hopping around on one foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or you can, but not well. I guess they'd be looking for the slowest, dumbest deer to prey upon then.
Yeah. Along with infection and everything else, you don't want to harm it. But this is
the infection side is at least in terms of how I intend to treat this tool, is there's not a cross contamination. That's, you know, that's why it's one needle, one person. But if you're at Jamestown, well, it's just one needle, 500 people. I don't know what they were thinking, or maybe the movie got it wrong. But, you know,
Yeah. And let me see what other comments are on here. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any more questions. Yeah, it's almost 9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we can pretty much end it here, and then we'll pick it up again in another few months. And well, yeah, you're not going out into the snow in the Great White North.
No, and apparently at the other property, all but one of my cameras is buried in 3, 4, or 5 feet of snow.
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, in terms of, you know, a timeline with the evidence collection station, there's obviously assembly and testing of the blood mat. There's going to be the assembly of the trigger, and the timer, and the lamp to make sure that works. And just as importantly is how far back and high off the ground, because I'm not going to camouflage the lamp.
Yeah.
Can it be to get proper illumination of the evidence collection station? And then how far back can I really get that camera to cover the whole area of the evidence collection station without using zoom, optical zoom?
Right.
And so, you know, that's my tasks for, you know, between now and mid-March, when I'll look to deploy it at the Peterborough property. And, you know, there's other things like, you know, how many hours of recording do I got on 1 terabit between 2 SD cards, you know, on the camera at 1080? It's like, you know, I'm not going to dump, you know, $70 in gas return going out every 4 days because I'm shooting in 4K, right? I don't mind going out every 9 days, right?
Yes. Yep.
You know,
the cameras, I'm trying to think, you know, I know that, you know, Logan's camera picked up a figure with a conical head at a pretty good distance, but once you zoom in on it, it's pretty identifiable as to what it is.
Yeah, like back to the question about if resources weren't an issue, it'd be, you know, high quality camera, 24/7, recording from a distance, you know, in this case without optical zoom, and the area that you're interested in is, you know, immersed in IR, you know, just bathed in IR light, and see what happens. Because at a certain point in time, like, you know, in the one particular area, the Peterborough property, it's a safe area for those animals to leave their kids.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're sneaking up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that would be ideal, because most times of the year the undergrowth isn't so thick, if you will, that you can't get good depth viewing in from the outside, right?
Well, yeah. Best wishes to you that.
Well, thank you.
That you have success with it. And
well, I appreciate that, but you know, we're going to try it. There's going to be some elements of it that just absolutely don't work. It looks good on paper, and it falls apart in the field. Like, you know, the
trial and error.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you know, the old style trip 35 millimeter,
Yeah.
Sure, I think that would work, but then you run into the problem. I'm not aware of too many non-battery flashes for these things out there. Although I do remember those cubes, and
Oh,
it seemed
yes.
that then there was a chemical reaction that gave the flash. I'm old enough to remember that, but
Oh, yes.
I don't know how many of those are available, and they'll find you after you know, pay your precious, well, your country doesn't have pennies anymore either, but your precious nickel for one, does it work? And there's only one way to tell if it works is to use it. And it's not reusable.
Yeah, it'll work one time, and then before it gets destroyed, because it's a flash,
Yeah.
bright flash that makes a pop sound. And
Yeah. But Mary, thank you very much for having me on. And
thank
if
you.
there's any questions or follow-up questions, I can be reached at, one word, Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot at gmail.com. And Logan, Todd, Dave, you've got my proper 411. If, any questions or suggestions, 100%, by all means, please reach out.
Yes. And again, that's Seeking Ontario's Bigfoot at gmail.com.
Correct.
And so, guys, remember that and go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and watch the videos. But thank you, JP. I do appreciate
Thank you.
coming
And
on.
thank you all for, observing this podcast.
All right. You have a good night. Stay warm.
I will. So are you kicking me out of the channel, or do I have to do something magical?
No, I will boot you out.
I'm getting punted. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Okay, guys. That was enjoyable. Always enjoyable talking with JP. He's a good friend and great researcher. And but thank you again. And next week, I don't have anyone scheduled. Maybe Todd will come on, I hope, if he has time, or if anyone else wants to volunteer, give me a holler, and we'll arrange something. But in the meantime, prayers for the people going to be affected by the storm, the ice storm and the snowstorm that's coming. Please be careful. Get your supplies now, and just stay home. Don't go out driving around in it. Don't try to drive on the ice. Just prepare ahead of time and stay home and stay safe. Prayers to everyone that's going to be affected. Okay, take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you on the other side. God bless. And Monkey Wench out.